Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Dream Design Podcast. Excuse the giant mess behind me. I was too busy chatting with my awesome guest to realize that my background is a little bit funky today. But you guys, I am so excited for my guest today. This guy, I can't even tell you. I mean, we could speak for 3 hours with him and about him, and it wouldn't be enough because he's an incredible human being. He is someone that I have been so fortunate to have in my life. I am so excited for you guys to meet him. I will be right back with Ken Walls. Hey everyone, welcome back. So I am so excited for my guest today, guys. You are going to want to watch this. And yes, I am a little bit under the gun because this is literally like when I learned how to do all these things, how to do going live and talking about it. This is the guy who taught me. So if I seem a little nervous, it's because I have literally the rock star, the king of live stream on here with me today. Ken Walls is joining us. He is the CEO and founder of Client Solution Innovations, which I call CSI because that used to be my favorite show when I was in college. But he is here with us. Welcome, Ken. Hi,
Hey.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How about you?
I am so good. I am so good. I am.
That's why my company is named Client Solution Innovations.
Is it?
Because of CSI Miami. Yep.
I love CSI Miami.
It was my favorite show. I watched it all the time. And when I started the company, a buddy and I used to watch that like every night. And I'm it's a longer story, but I'm like, what do I call the company? And it just came to me, CSI. I love CSI. People will remember that. And so that's why it's, there's Sherry Gideons. Hey, Sherry.
Yeah, so yeah, an audience today. I love that. It's so funny. Me and my husband, Will, sometimes we'll just like think of like a smart comment to say, like David Caruso style at the end of something just to be funny, and then one of us will go like, and we just know that that's yes. Oh my goodness, you gotta like there's like a love-hate relationship with David Caruso, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like you're like, oh my god, that guy, but then you're like, oh my god, that guy. Enough about David Caruso. We're here to talk about Ken Walls. So you guys may have seen the 10-minute mastery journal that I have. In fact, it's pretty close. If it's not, it's right here. This right here, this is the man behind the magic of this journal. He invented this. I sent it to my whole team. He suggested I send it to my team. So I sent one to all my team members, and they absolutely love it. But we'll get into that in a couple minutes. There's so much I want to go into, and I purposely didn't book anything after this so I could take my time with you. So Sherry says, love you, my dear friend. Hi, Missy. Sherry. Hello, Lynn. Look at the game's all here.
Oh my gosh.
Yay.
Wow. Facebook user needs to give permission to.
I know, but you know what? I look at it like a gift that I can look at later. Like, who was that? And then I'm like, oh. And it's like the big reveal, Yeah. So, okay. So Ken is here with us. And I got to tell you guys, I'm a little bit fangirling because yes, Ken is my coach, but also he has like a lot of people that follow him. Like this, I mean, I don't know if you've looked at his Facebook at all, but his fan page, he's got like 71,000 followers.
76.
I do that just so he corrects me.
I knew you did that on purpose.
76,000 followers, like 76 trombones, right? So 76,000 followers. And he's in high demand. So I was actually a little nervous to ask him to come on my show. And then he's like, I'm your coach. Of course I'm coming on your, like, you didn't ask me. You didn't even let me say no. I was like, all right, fair point. So needless to say, he's here. And I'm just, like I said, I tell you guys all the time, you can put any celebrity in front of me and I don't care, but give me a thought leader and I turn into a 13-year-old schoolgirl. And he, he's one of those people for me. So I'm very glad that he's here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sometimes I feel like I can't form thoughts though. So I am human.
I am going to throw you softballs today. Okay. In the spirit of,
you can throw anything you want. Listen, one thing I've learned about myself is I function at a much higher level when I am under pressure.
Excellent.
Yeah. It's crazy.
All right. So 5, 4, 3. No, I'm kidding. So let's start with now. So you own your own company and you're the king of live stream and you do those things, but you didn't always do that. So tell me a little bit about kind of where did we get to the Ken that we have today?
Oh, wow. Scott Ricard is in the house and Mark Rodriguez, my brother. How you doing? So did you ever see The Jerk with Steve Martin?
Oh yeah. One of my favorite movies.
Out, I was born a poor black child. I've always wanted to say that, but I was born into a pretty poor family. And at a very young age, I learned that I saw all these kids that had designer clothes, and back in my day, that meant they were wearing Jordache jeans and the Air Jordans, and so I wasn't, my mom was not able to afford those nice clothes. So at a young age, I don't remember, 7 or 8 years old, I was pulling a lawnmower behind my little bicycle, going door to door selling lawn mowing services. And in the wintertime, we get a lot of snow in Ohio. So in the wintertime, I'd go door to door and sell snow shoveling services. And it was, I mean, I was young. I can't imagine even sending my 10-year-old out to do something like that. But I'd learned at a young age that if you want nice things and you want to make it, you've got to work for it. You've got to take chances. Like I was terrified to go door to door. I mean, but I did it anyway, so that's where it all started for me. And at somewhere around 11 or so, I got my first real job working at an Italian restaurant, literally cleaning trash cans and trash dumpsters. And it was horrible job. But I eventually worked my way into being a dishwasher and then a backline cook for the preparing food for the chef. It was a really nice restaurant. So I worked there for several years as a kid and my teenage years and eventually got into sales. But one of the things that, and I had a conversation with somebody last night about this, Jim Rohn is probably one of the most incredible thought leaders of all time. And Jim had a saying. He said, a formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. And at, my senior year in high school, the guidance counselor called me in and said, hey, you didn't get a biology credit in 10th grade. You failed that class. And I said, yeah, that class sucked. I hated it. And he's like, well, it's required though. If you want to graduate, it's a required credit. You have to have it. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. Why? Like, I'm never dissecting a frog again. Like, what do I need a biology credit for? That's dumb. And so I couldn't negotiate my way out of that. They wanted me to come back for an entire year for half a day, just to get a biology credit. And I said, that's not happening. So I literally walked out a few months before graduation. And I had taken all college prep courses but I decided at that moment that, you know what, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to make my own way. And around 2021, I decided, okay, I need to start reading, and because I hated to read.
So just to clarify, you guys, when he says around 2021, he doesn't mean he started reading this year.
Yeah, no.
He means when he was 20 and
20,
21.
yeah, 20 or 21 years, around 20 years old or so.
He's been reading for a while.
Yeah. So I started reading, I was in sales by then, and I started reading Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy and all the leaders back then. And I became addicted to reading. And I remember reading Tony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within. And he tells a story about hovering his jet helicopter over a building in San Diego. And he said, and he was on his way to speak at an event. And he said, I realized as I'm hovering over this building, it looked familiar to me. And I'm paraphrasing the whole thing, but he said, I realized that it was just a mere 10 years earlier that I was the janitor in that building. And here I am now hovering a, whatever $6 million aircraft over this building or whatever it was. And it's like, I remember finishing that book and feeling so empowered. And I felt like, okay, there's hope for me. And like there is, and I think that's what everybody wants, is we want to know that there's, wait, I have a chance. So what you're saying is I have a chance. And so I remember putting that book down and going, that is what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to empower people. I want to help people find their own greatness. That's what I want to do with my life. And then all the voices in my head went, yeah, right, dude, you dropped out of high school. Come on, man. All of that stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of where it all started for me, though.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so then you went into kind of like the traditional corporate world, right? And sales and all. Okay, so where did you go?
Yes, kind of. I was always a subcontractor. There's Jamie Green. Hey, Jamie. So, I was always a contractor for the most part. I had a couple of jobs along the way working for companies, but they never lasted long. One thing I realized a long time ago is I am unemployable. And I think different. I don't know. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life in some capacity. And I hated working for somebody else. It just wasn't my thing. And so I always figured out a way to just make my own way, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I just want to highlight that for a moment, because there are a lot of people out there, I was one of them. I know the amount of retail jobs and things that I had when I was younger was like the size of my arm, right? And I spent a lot of time feeling guilty and bad about that, because it was like, oh, I just can't keep a job. And it's very important that you mention, and you're doing a great job of explaining that's not a deficit in us. That is the type of giving back that we're meant to do. We're not meant to do it by someone else telling us what to do. We're innovators, we're visionaries. We're meant to be at the helm and not to be rowing the boat, right? So people need to hear that there are people who are destined for that kind of work, and it's still just as beneficial to society, and it's still just as lucrative, and it still has all of, the bells and whistles that going to work 9 to 5 has. And we're not detracting one from the other, but there's nothing wrong with not being able to, with having to be your own boss.
Well, and there's still, you said rowing the boat. I row my ass off every day. So like, it's not just, it's not just rowing the boat as a business owner. It's not just rowing the boat that we're responsible for. It's making sure everybody else has their oars in the water and they're rowing and they're all working in unison, and they are all, plus we got to make sure that the bathrooms are clean and that the coffee is stocked and the conference table's clean, and there's a lot. It's a lot more than just rowing the boat, for sure. And look, you don't know what you don't know. So, when I had my first business, my first real business, it crashed and burned, and several other things did along the way as well, because you don't know what you don't know. But when I was in my, I don't know, 24, 25, I started doing satellite systems installations in people's homes, and then home security systems. Became DirecTV's largest dealer in the country at one point. And then I started doing this home security thing, made millions of dollars in my mid to late 20s. And then along the way, by the way, I didn't mention this, but along the way, alcohol was always a part of my life, a huge part of my life. And as I continued to experience more financial success, and I continued to experience more whatever success, alcohol became more and more and more prevalent in my life. And so I ended up losing the big company I built. I lost everything, and was hired as VP of sales for a company out in Seattle. I went out there, ended up telling a billionaire that he didn't know his ass from a hole in the ground, because that's how arrogant I was. And so at 34 years old, I had a big spiritual awakening. And it's a long story. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but
you can read about it in his book. He does have a book where he talks about it.
I finally, she's so sweet. So I finally, at 34 years old, after building several companies into millions of dollars and losing them also, from the outside looking in, I had 2 Mercedes, I had the big house, I had the, whatever. But from the outside looking in, it looked like this dude's killing it in life. But on the inside, I was dying. And
it was killing you.
I mean, spiritually and physically, I was bloated, I was jaundiced, and the alcohol was literally just eroding away at everything in me. And I finally, somebody called me a worthless drunk. Like, I was like, and I truly believe, because you hear people say, oh, the ego is edging God out, which I believe it can. But the ego is also can be used as a protective measure. When somebody told me at 34 years old, you know what, you're nothing but a worthless drunk and everybody around here knows it, my ego went, what? And I'm looking around in this bar, like this restaurant. Did anybody else hear that? And it was a moment of unbelievable clarity for me. And I paid my tab, walked out of there, and the next night I went to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that was almost 19 years ago. And by the grace of God and a lot of hard work on me, I've not had a drink or a mind or mood altering drug since that day. And it definitely was not an easy journey, but it was a journey that I highly recommend.
So powerful, Ken. I just want to take a moment to really let that process, because I know there's a delay and I don't want to just jump into the next thing. But you know, even to just be able to speak about that, to be able to acknowledge that you went through that and where you are now, you know, it's such a testament to your strength and character. So.
You know, and I know that listen, I know I have my strengths, and I think my strengths are incredible. I've been incredibly blessed with amazing insights and ability, amazing human beings. Um, but I don't take credit for all of my sobriety. I give that to God. I'm telling you that there's only as an alcoholic, and I tried. There was a moment where I was sober for 6 or 8 months or something, and I thought, man, I got this whooped. I'm good, and I'm like, I can drink like a normal person now. Hallelujah. And so I had a glass of wine this one night waiting on a table at a really nice restaurant. And I don't remember that night. Ended up in a pool hall later. I think I may have ended up in a fight. I don't remember. But so I know that if I pick up a drink, it's gonna take off right from where it left off, and probably be even worse. So you know, I'm very grateful. Like, I'm around people that drink all the time. Doesn't bother me. If it gets out of control, I just remove myself. I just leave. Like, I'm out. See ya. So it doesn't bother me to be around it. But the desire to have a drink was lifted from me many, many years ago. And man, I'm just grateful for that, because again, my natural state of being is to drink. That's it, you know, and that desire's gone. I don't have it anymore.
Amazing. So shifting gears a little bit, I want to talk about, how did you go from being this salesperson, you know, CEO, founder, doing all these things? I know you did. And guys, you can read about a lot of this stuff in his book. And he has a couple other books coming out too soon. So make sure that you keep close tabs on him. But, you know, you did the websites and the stuff that you did for that really famous friend of yours. But I want this to be about you. So when did you kind of decide to shift and really focus on live streaming? When did that become kind of like, wow, this is something, and, you know, I really want to get behind this?
So I have done well over 3,000 live streams, and so that really famous. Are you talking about Grant Cardone?
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, he's not that famous. I'm kidding. Yeah, Grant's awesome. Matter of fact, he may even be watching. I shared this to my page, and but look, Grant, I had a sales guy that needed help, and I didn't have the bandwidth to help him. So I started looking for sales training on YouTube, thinking I'll find a Brian Tracy videos or Zig Ziglar, and I type in sales training course or something like that, and I run into one of Grant's videos on YouTube, and I'm like, I watch it, and I'm like, who is this guy? I've never seen him. This is in 2014. Like, who in the world is Grant Cardone? And so I watched a bunch of his videos, and I'm like, okay, I got to find, this is incredible. Like, I got to find this guy. So I Google him, and I find he has a sales training course. And long story short, I signed a $36,000 contract for his sales training for my sales staff and me. And then I decided, you know, I want him as a client. His Google rankings suck, and I need to fix that. And I want him as a client. And it's another, again, long story. I won't go into all the details, but I sent my assistant to Miami to deliver a couple of custom made bottles of wine to Grant and his wife, Elena. And that day, after a nightmare of trying to get in to see him, that day, Grant called me. hey, Colleen. And he called me and we chatted, and he said at the end of the conversation, he said, if there's ever anything I can do for you or your family, you let me know. And I said, actually there is. And he goes, what is it? And I go, I want you as a client. He goes, what do you do? I go, I build websites and do SEO, search engine optimization. He goes, okay. And I go, and I Googled sales training, and Dale Carnegie pops up number one. You're nowhere to be found, and that guy's dead. And he goes, yeah, and that pisses me off too. I go, I'm sure it would piss me off. And so that's where it all started. And I was watching Grant do all these live streams on Periscope. And I had an Android. Periscope was only available on iPhone, but a guy that worked for me had it, an iPhone. So I'd watch Grant, and I'm like, I got to get an iPhone. This is crazy. So I go get an iPhone just so I could watch Grant and learn more. And then I'm like, and Grant's going, man, this is a great meeting. Everybody needs to be using this, and da da da. And so I started using it, and the first year, because the first time I went live, I was terrified. Second time, I was terrified. Third time, I was terrified. But people started showing up and asking what I did, and I would talk about what I did. And then I'd start getting phone calls and emails, and, hey, I want to do business with you. And all these things just started happening. And I'm like, okay, there's something to this. Like, there's something to this live streaming thing. Grant says it, money follows attention. So I'm like, I'm definitely getting attention. This is holy crap. I can't believe this. And so I started getting all this business, and the more business I got, the more I went live. I was going live 5, 6, 7 times a day sometimes. And like the first year I had Periscope, I did over 800 live streams in that first year. And it was because I'm going all in on this. Now, I didn't know I was eventually going to be teaching other people how to live stream, but I had a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, Jeffrey Gitomer, the king of sales, who's a friend of mine, who wrote the Little Red Book of Selling. Jeffrey wrote a book called Get Shit Done. And I saw that it was out. A post on Facebook. So I went and got a haircut that day. I'm driving home. I thought, I'm going to call Gitomer. So I call him and I said, hey, dude, if you want to do a live stream later and promote your book, let me know. He's like, yeah, that'd be cool. Let's do it. So I said, by the way, Grant gets on my live streams once in a while. If he pops on, then we'll see if we can get him on. And so Grant was in the comments. He said, love you guys. And I said, Grant, you ought to jump on here with us. I'll send you the link. And he got on the live stream with Jeffrey and I. And it was unbelievable. And it was a lot of fun that night. Sold a lot of books for Jeffrey. And then Jeffrey's wife called me and she said, you've got to do a course. And I said, what do you mean? A course on what? And she goes, a course on how to do what you just did. I said, what did I do? She goes, Ken, you had Grant Cardone on. You had all these other CEOs of these big companies come on and talk to Jeffrey, and you facilitated all this stuff, dude. You need to teach people how to do this. And I said, okay, great. Where do I start? And so, she started showing me some things, and so I created a course and an academy. And then after that, it was only going to be 36 videos, 6 videos for 6 weeks. That was it. And now it's over 110. I have a couple of other videos. It's on my to-do list that I'm adding to the program here soon. I'm constantly looking for ways to make people's lives better, and I'm doing it unconsciously all the time. Like, how do I improve other people's lives, especially the people who've invested in the Grow Live Academy and they want to grow, they want to learn, they want to get better. How do I do that? And that's what I have now. And I have a weekly mastermind call that's included in it. That's really, you were in there. Was it last week you taught? Yeah, last week.
And that has the potential to change my life. We know that, right? After what happened. And who was there and who I was able to be surrounded by, it's funny when I first signed up for, and I'll be completely transparent with this because I am one of his Grow Live Academy students. When I first signed up and I knew who else was in there, I said to myself, if I know, because, I'm like a course junkie, lifelong learner. If I never touch any of this content, just being in that room with those people is worth 10 times what he's charging.
It's worth a lot. Yeah.
So whenever I got in there and it was like all these, doors open and it was like I was in this secret society and I looked at all the faces of the people that were in this room and I was just like, OMG. And that was just like my hypothetical thought about what it would be. And then last week when I taught and I had all these people messaging me and they're like, can you help me? How do I do this? And then we had that one phone call that was like unreal.
You can say who it was.
Okay. So the other day I did Grow Live and I taught about Facebook groups and how I've built them and why I focus on community instead of volume. And one of the gentlemen who was there, he is this guy, Parker, and he is the son of Mark Victor Hansen and Crystal Dwyer Hansen. So he was, he saw what I did and he asked questions.
Preston,
right. Yeah. Sorry, Preston. Parker, Preston. Yeah, whatever. they started.
Sorry, Preston.
Sorry, Preston. I won't forget again. I remember his I remembered yesterday what his wife's name was, and I was going to be impressive and say that. But anyway, so the next thing I know, Ken's calling me. He gets me on the phone. He goes, hey, I have Mark Victor Hansen on the other line. And if you don't know who Mark Victor Hansen is, he literally is the most prolific author, has written more books, published more books than anybody but the Bible.
He's sold over 500 million books. He's the #1 best-selling author of all time.
Yeah. The Chicken Soup for the Soul books, that was him. And he's had a plethora of other ones. Yeah. And he said, hey, I heard about what you do with groups and I want to talk to you about maybe collaborating. And I was just like, I didn't even know what to say. It was like I think it was Thursday night at 10 o'clock our time.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I can't even believe this is my life right now. And I never would have had that opportunity to even be in the realm of having that conversation had I not been in this community.
Yep.
And that's not even including all of the course content that's in there about how to do live streams. I never would have been on StreamYard, right? Like I know how to use this so proficiently that yesterday I was invited onto a business call for a company to help them. And I was able to just go, okay, guys, shared my screen, showed them StreamYard. And long story short, they're going to end up, the company is going to sign up for StreamYard. No, Ken, I didn't use my affiliate link. I know I have a block there. I'll get there. But yeah, so, I mean, the skills that I'm learning are really making a difference. Could I go live more often? Definitely, for sure. And he gets on me about that, right? I pay him to harass me about
I do.
Like that. But just having that knowledge and being proficient and confident enough to do this really made the difference for my business. And I know it is because people are messaging me and going, I see you everywhere. I see you blowing up. I see your stuff. And a lot of that has to do with what I've learned from Grow Live. So let's go ahead and drop that first link, you guys. He has this awesome webinar that he just put together where he outlines how he used
but the webinar's gone. I deleted it because of the technical glitch. So that link right there goes directly to the checkout page. The Grow Live Academy is $5,000 for a lifetime license. And that includes the weekly live mastermind calls where a lot of times Glenn Morshower is on there with us, most of the time, actually. Jeffrey Gittimer, Kyle Wilson, Jim Rohn's business partner of 18 years, has been in there. Craig Duswalt, who toured the world with Guns N' Roses for 4.5 years. He was Axl Rose's personal assistant. I mean, it's an amazing group and wait till you see who I have coming in this Thursday. But anyway, it's an amazing group. You've been in there and taught. You've been in there and learned a lot too. But we have and it's always a Q&A at the end, and we get to talk about whatever's holding us back in our businesses or our life or in live streaming or whatever. It doesn't matter. Social media, it can be anything. But yeah, that's $5,000 for a lifetime license, $2,000 a year, so $19.97. But I ran that special right there on the webinar, and it's $9.97 for lifetime access, lifetime. So, did anyone mention me yet? Who is that? I don't know. Yeah, Jessica. I know he did. I've heard Craig has told the stories, and then there's the stories he can't tell publicly that I've heard some of. So he earned every dime. Craig's an amazing guy, and that's the I think for me, one of the greatest blessings for me is I don't know where I was given this ability, but I was maybe it was from reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. But I have this ability to connect with other people on a super high level, and I like to help. I think that the root of it is I just really like to help people. So when I met Mark Victor Hansen and had him on my show, my first thought was, how do I help a guy that's sold, half of a billion books? How can I help him? Like, that's crazy. Like, and I found a way, and I found many ways to help them, and I'm always looking for the next level of how I can help him, or how can I help Grant Cardone? What can I do for Grant Cardone? Grant's a billionaire, right? Or whatever. I don't know what his net worth is, but he's obviously doing incredibly well. And he's a good friend of mine. I mean, I love Grant. He changed my life in 2014 and every year thereafter. But how can I help? How can you help somebody like Grant Cardone? What can you do for him? Well, you got to find out what he wants first, right? You have to find out what the other person wants. And the problem with most people is they're so busy trying to find an angle and talking about themselves and how great they are. And then, they miss the most important part of the entire process. And that's using your ears and just listening, asking a couple of questions, find out what they want. What can you help them with? Grant wants more people to know who he is. Because if he says money follows attention, if I don't know you, I can't flow you. And so if I want to connect with somebody like Grant, or I want to connect with Mark Victor Hansen, or I want to connect with Warren Buffett, well, what can you do for that person to help them achieve what they want? Because if they're still alive, there's something they desire. There's something, like, right? There's something. Maybe it's Bill Gates and you teach him how to not cheat, or I'm kidding. Did I just say that? So did I say that out loud?
I didn't take up a collection for him to actually get his PhD.
I just, I think that I look for ways to help other people get more out of life and get what they want out of life. And, Zig Ziglar says it. I've got the book laying right here, Zig Ziglar's little book of big quotes. And on the inside flap of this thing, on the very front, it says, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. And I think that if we could all just learn to identify what it is somebody else wants, and think about, okay, how can I help them get what they want before I think about what I want? And that's so hard when your mortgage is late, or your rent's late, or your electric's late, or your car has been repossessed, I've been through all of that. The electric's been shut off. I've been through that. You don't know where your next meal is coming through. I've been through that, and when you can put, even if it's just for a moment, put that to the side and think about, how can I help somebody else move their ball down the field a little bit further, just so they feel hope, so they feel like there's some sort of an impact that they can make in this world, in this life. That's what people want. People want to leave a legacy. They really. Now, are there narcissists? Yeah, there's narcissists. Do they want to make an impact? Yes, they want to make an impact that's all about them, and they don't really give a crap about anybody else. And I've known a few of those people too. But that's okay. The karma is real, and it always comes around, good and bad. So, my goal in life is, I used to be that guy that all it mattered was how much money I could make. All it mattered was how quick I could make that money. It's not like that for me today, because I realized that when I was a practicing alcoholic, everything in life was about me, and me. And when I got sober, I realized that I was a selfish person. And the only way I was ever going to experience true happiness was if I learned how to help other people first. And then everything else falls right into place. And it really does. I mean, I told you before the show, and I won't go into details, but I literally, and it was miraculously, had $60,000 appear in my life in the last 2 days. And it's like, wow, it's just unbelievable. Like it's just some of the stuff that happens now. You just got to keep doing good. You got to keep doing good stuff. And if you keep doing good stuff is going to come for you.
I love that. I love that so much.
I want one more thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of the movie. I just watched it the other night. I leave my office sometimes at midnight or 1 a.m, and I'll sit down and flip on Netflix or something for a minute, maybe at 30 to 60 minutes. There was a movie on, and I don't remember the name of the movie. I think it was on Netflix, and it was like trending as #1 in the nation or something. At the end of the movie, and it was about this farm boy that wanted to play baseball, and there were all of these professional baseball, and he was really good. At the end of the movie, he said the very last thing that was said, it was this quote. It was so good that I was like, I got to make a meme out of that or something. But I can't do it because it wasn't my quote. I don't know how to give. I just have to give credit to him. But anyway, here's the quote. And it was impactful to me. I think that most of us are out here thinking, that there are all of these external things or external people or external places. Like, if I could only just go to Greece, then I'll be happy. If I could only just make $1 million a month, then I'll be happy. If I could only just blah, blah, and if I could only just marry him, marry her, then I'll be happy. And this is the most beautiful quote. Your life will not make you happy. Your happiness will make your life. Your life will not make you happy. All those things that we think we want, those people, places, and things, those are not what are going to generate happiness. Being happy, learning to be happy is what will create an amazing life.
It's so true. It's so true. I made a post in my group one day and I said, hey, scroll down to see the secret to being happy. And I made like 100 dots. And then I said, be happy. That's the secret.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, Joe just said, did Ken just try to propose to me?
I already did that. He turned me down.
Oh my goodness. This is too funny. Well, Ken, I feel like you could do like in the actor's studio, but like in the thought leaders studio, I feel like we could just talk for hours, and luckily we do sometimes. You know, you are an incredible asset to this world and to live streaming, obviously, but more so just to humanity, right? Like so many people can learn so much from what you've been through, and the fact that you're so courageous to share it, because not everybody does. There's a lot of people who have a very similar past to you, and they would never share that because it doesn't serve them. But you understand that what you went through and where you've been was for a bigger purpose. Joe says that's what Clubhouse is for. I love that.
Yeah.
We need it. We need a real Ken Walls group. We'll all come and sit by the proverbial fire. So just real quick, you guys, one more time. This is the link to go and sign up for Grow Live. I cannot believe that you're doing $9.97 for lifetime. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going to run the webinar again next week, and then and I'm going to do it live, but and then it's going back to the normal price. But yeah, it's $9.97. Look, I've had, just this week I've had 6 people sign up for it. So I'm very
no-brainer. I mean, who wouldn't do that?
And hey, something else that's cool is if you don't have $9.97, PayPal offers financing on that page too, and it's like 6 months, no interest, no payments, that's or something. Crazy. So, that's so obviously you have to qualify for that. But anyway, yeah, my goal in life is to help other people, and you know, I don't. Some days I don't know exactly what that means. And some days I do know exactly what that means, but I know this: all I have to do is keep showing up and keep being a good person. I did. And when I say a good person, that doesn't mean perfect. The hardest thing for me, Amy Lee, was, and you and I've talked about this, but the hardest thing for me wasn't necessarily forgiving all the people who had caused harm to me. And it wasn't even, you know, asking the people that I hurt for forgiveness. The hardest part for me was me forgiving myself for the mistakes I've made and the dumb shit I've done. And, you know, pardon my language, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk like that. But you know, I've done a lot of dumb things, and I still do. I probably always will. But learning to forgive oneself for the mistakes that we made, that's the hardest part. And once you figure that out,
it's all downhill.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Absolutely. I love that. And guys, if anybody is interested in the webinar when Ken does it live again, go ahead and put webinar in the comments, and he'll know to reach out to you with that link when it's available. I mean, I hope everybody who's watching, if you haven't already watched the webinar, types that in so you guys can get that. And anyone watching on the replay as well, because it's so much good content. I was fortunate enough to see some of it as he was building it, and I was like, you're giving this away for free? But it's true, he is. So
tripleyourbizz.live by itself, they can register there, and even though it has the wrong date, but they can register and they'll get notified when I do the webinar.
But also, if they just want to actually reach out and think that they talked to you, you know, because you have 73,000 followers on Facebook.
6.
Right, he has 6,000 followers.
76.
76,000. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Any last words for anybody, Ken, before I let you go?
Nah, just do good, and good will come back to you.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here with us
Thank
today.
You.
I really appreciate you. And that'll do it for Ken Walls this week, guys. So tune in next week for another awesome guest when we talk about dream businesses and overcoming obstacles and all that good stuff. Until then, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, and may you be at peace. Namaste.